Hey guys, Simon here with Caddis Fly Shop, an Oregon fly fishing blog, and fall's coming up, and you should be thinking about October caddis. These big, nasty pupa things. They're one of the biggest caddis there are, at least in our area. They create these big cases and sit in a while for them and pupate and turn into the adults, and then they will shoot to the surface in the evenings. And so swinging pupa like this work really, really good. Dead drifting them, the fish get really keyed in on orange. So something like this, you know, anything orange, even if it's smaller, the fish pick up on, but especially if it looks a lot like an October caddis pupa, the fish are just all over it. I've already seen shucks in Central Oregon, as well as up high on all of our systems. We're seeing October caddis. So trying to get this one out to you guys a little bit early, but the next couple of weeks / month and a half here, there's going to be October caddis everywhere. So this is a fly you're going to want to have. And if you can time it right when the fish are eating it, they just go crazy for it. So one thing I am going to show you guys right here is this fly has an ostrich body and all that kind of stuff. But when it gets wet, it looks really, really good. If you've ever seen an October caddis pupa, it is just like this thing just looks almost unfair. I almost feel a little bit guilty fishing it. If you can see that, you know, the ostrich kind of looks really lifelike and kind of pupa-y or grubby, and then the CDC mixed with the partridge just looks like, you know, wings and legs, and so that's pretty much just what they look like. And so this is just what you're going to want to have when fall comes around, when the fish get really keyed in on it. It's already been fishing really well right now, so stay tuned and I'll show you how to make it. So looking real close at this fly, it has a chenille underbody, which gives it the fat profile of a October caddis pupa. And then you've got, it's just counter ribbed here for durability, and there's two colors of ostrich, which gives it a real natural color when it gets wet of a pupa. Peacock here for the thorax, a little dark spot where the wings are forming. The heads of these insects are always kind of darker in their thorax up here. And then you've got tan CDC and some partridge up here. When it gets wet, it looks really, really good, as you guys will see in a sec. So we'll get to it. It's tied on a size 10 fully milled jig 4 short with a huge oversized bead to get you down real deep. You can swing it, you can dead drift it, whatever you want. Okay, so this hook we're using here is the jig 4 short from Pulling Mill, 5125. It's like one of my favorite jig hooks in the past couple of months. I've got it in every size, and most of the time when I'm tying a jig nymph, it's on this hook. You can put a very large bead on it. This bead is a, what is it? 3/16 copper tungsten slotted bead from Hairline, so it's a huge bead. You don't quite need a bead this big. I think it looks funny without it because I'm so used to chucking oversized beads on my nymphs. But around here, when you want to get deep real quick, it's good to have. If you want to make this more of like a swingy bug, you can certainly tie it on like a standard hook or put a smaller bead on it, but you can swing this thing with the big bead, no problem, especially through quick water. It helps it get down. So this is 70 denier thread from Danville's. You can use 140. I just use this because towards the end of the fly, I really don't want to crowd the eye, since I'm doing two separate wraps of palmers of feathers, and so you kind of run out of real estate at that point when you're squeezing that stuff up there. So I've found a thinner thread works better. I don't want something as thin as Nano Silk from Semperfli, just because I do want to build some of a body here. That's also why we're putting the chenille in, to help build a profile. But yeah, so right now I just tied in a little piece of chenille, as well as this is small ultra chenille, and this is just some small orange wire. The wire is just for durability, so you can really do any color. At this size, you don't really see the wire through it, so it really doesn't matter. I just picked one that is kind of continuous with the general design of the pattern. And so now we've got fluorescent orange ostrich and scud tan ostrich. And I picked these two colors because when you mix them together, it looks very realistic for what an October caddis pupa looks like. So we're just going to tie it into the back and build just a little bit of bulk right here. Not a whole lot. And the other thing is you want to make sure all these feathers get pinched in. have a straggler right here. So yeah, we're going to just build a little bit here. You can't do too much because you want to leave space. Oops. So now we have the chenille separated from the ostrich, and we are going to do touching wraps here. And this is kind of creates a segmented body, as you can see, but this is more just to create a bit of bulk on the body. And I want that because October Caddis Pupa are kind of fat. They're like a chunky insect. And fish know that, and they just eat them up. It's a lot of protein in one thing. It's kind of like a little orange Tootsie Roll for them. It's like a little fat thing full of a ton of calories, so fish just can't really pass them up when they're out. And that's also why in the fall orange nymphs just perform really, really well, because I think the fish are so keyed in on finding any October Caddis Pupa that like anything orange triggers them. So like I'll fish an orange perdigon in the fall, and even though it's like way skinnier than an October Caddis Pupa, I just think the fish are kind of like looking for orange stuff, basically, because there's not really too many other orange bugs that happen in the fall. So that's my theory with it. But they're big, you know, and this will slim down when it gets wet. But these insects are pretty big. So because of that, we've got to build up a body, and I don't want to do it with dubbing. The chenille is much more durable than you know, dubbing. Dubbing will like kind of fall apart, and I know this thing's just going to get torn up when I fish it, which is what you want, but you don't want it to fall apart. So I'm kind of thinking about durability here, as well as making a realistic profile and all that other good stuff. And so now what we're doing is we're putting in a couple of strands of peacock curl. You know, you can get away with one strand. I like to just grab a bunch at once to make my life easy. So this is probably about 4 or 5 strands. And this is why I am using 70 denier, because I have a small window here to fit everything else. And if you use 140, every wrap takes up a whole lot more space than you want it to. So you can get away with small, bigger thread, but just beware at this point of the fly that you really need to watch how much space you're taking up right behind that bead. You don't want to just feel too crammed up there. And so now we will pinch that off, tie it off, and then next we have to do a piece of tan CDC. I like a piece that looks like this. We don't need a huge piece. We don't want a tiny piece, kind of right in the middle. Fairly long fibers, because this body's kind of big. You want them to kind of drape over the back. And then now that I have that pinched in, my thread wraps are very sparing, because you can see I have very little space up here. So I just want to be very mindful about how much space I'm taking up here. And so a couple of wraps here. Generally, I don't like to go all the way up the quill, because it, again, eats up space on for the little bit of real estate that I have. So I will kind of pinch this off and clip it. And then we have to do a piece of partridge. And so partridge, ideally you have a skin, right? And up here you have little feathers, and then down here you have the larger ones. So I want to pick one from kind of the second lower half of the bird. And you'll pop one off, and to kind of prep it, these kind of marabou feathers here, they have a name, I'm kind of blanking on it right now. But you're going to want to pull them off and clean that quill like this. And then you pinch up here and pull all these fibers down. From there, we will tie this in right here. And again, I'm not making a million wraps, just enough to lock it in. 2 is plenty. And then I'll wrap it. And don't worry if the feathers are kind of going all over the place. You can correct them by when we do the last whip finish on this thing. So now that that's all locked in, I will kind of pinch this off, and then I can help the fibers go where I want them to go after. So I'll pinch this quill off right here, And then now I can kind of choose where all these fibers go. So I'm going to kind of shape it how I want the fly to look when it's wet. And then I will make these wraps here. I don't want a giant orange color. Don't want it too thick, but just maybe a little hot spot right there. Then we'll do a couple of whip finishes and then we're all done. This thing just absolutely crushes this time of year. I've been seeing shucks already in Central Oregon. I know that they're around up high on our systems. But the October Caddis will be out in full force very soon here. I'm going to put one little dot of Solaris Bone Dry right up here. And then you'll be ready to fish this thing. So you can get all this stuff in store or online at Caddis Fly Shop. You can see this thing just glows. It's going to look really good in the water. And yeah, you can get all this online at Caddis Fly Shop. If you like this stuff, drop a comment. We are open to video suggestions, so drop them below. And like I said, you can get all this online at Caddis Fly Shop. And we have a huge Instagram that we've been working on, making a lot of content for you guys. So go check us out there too. Thanks.